Thanks a lot, Damodar bhai. Good morning to all of you. Let me express my honor and pleasure and gratitude to the organizers of Goa Literary Festival to give me an opportunity to come and share my views, be here and interact with people, and also the honor of engaging in a conversation about a book which is extremely important for English-speaking people in our country, as very little biographical material is available on Sri Chatrapati Shahu Maharaj, who I consider none other than as a father of Indian democracy, nothing less than that, whose work people praise Shahu Maharaj, but they don't know exactly what work he is famous for. So this book addresses that gap about very typical information about his life. This is the only novel available in Marathi written by Sri Ram Pachindre, and probably only biographical novel based on Shahu Maharaj in English now, thanks to efforts made by Ramakant Khalap. So we will be talking about that book, but before that I would request Professor Pan to share his views about the book.
You may speak in Marathi, no problem.
शाहू या श्रीराम पचिंद्रे यांनी मूळ मराठी कादंबरी जी लिहिलेली आहे तिचा अनुवाद ॲडव्होकेट रमाकांत खलप यांनी केलेला आहे. आणि या लिटररी फेस्टिवलमध्ये सचिन केतकर हे इथं उपस्थित आहेत आणि आमचे नामवंत साहित्यिक भाई मौजू इथं आहेत आणि अन्य साहित्यिक मीडियामधले संपादक आणि मान्यवर वेगवेगळ्या भागातून आलेले. मी फक्त 3-4 मिनिटांमध्ये बोलणार आहे, कारण हा बोलण्याचा प्रसंग नाही. श्रीराम पचिंद्रे यांनी आताच सचिन केतकर यांनी सांगितल्याप्रमाणे हे शाहू महाराज हे भारतीय लोकशाहीचे एक पिता आहेत असं त्यांनी म्हटलेलं आहे. म्हणजे त्यांनी हे पायोनियरिंग अशा प्रकारचं काम केलेलं आहे आणि त्यांचा सगळा तो एक लाईफ अकाउंट लक्षात घेऊन त्यांची जडणघडण ते दत्तक म्हणून कोल्हापूरच्या गादीवर आले आणि सयाजीराव गायकवाडांच्या घराण्यातली मुलगी त्यांना चालून आली. पुढे त्यांनी आपल्या कर्तृत्वाचा ठसा हा कोल्हापूर संस्थानामध्ये उमटविला आणि अनेक लोकोपयोगी कामे केली. विशेषतः जे जे काही चांगलं आहे आणि अभिनव आहे ते कोल्हापूर संस्थानामध्ये असावं असा त्यांचा आग्रह होता. कोल्हापूरचं रेल्वे स्टेशन, कोल्हापूर मिरज रेल्वे मार्ग, त्यामुळे जनसामान्याचं जीवन खुललं गेलं आणि मुख्य म्हणजे शिक्षणाची द्वारं ही सगळ्यांना त्यांनी खुली केली. जात पात पंथ धर्म पीठ मठ यांना स्थान न देता धर्मातील अशा प्रकारच्या निधर्मी राज्यव्यवस्थेचा आदर्श स्वातंत्र्यपूर्व काळात निर्माण होणारा हा द्रष्टा राजकारणी होता. आणि ते केवळ राजनीतीत नव्हते तर समाज सुधारक होते. आमच्या एकूण हिंदू धर्मामध्ये ज्या काही कर्मकांडांनी आपला समाज ग्रासलेला होता त्याच्या विरुद्ध त्यांनी लढा उभारला आणि त्या काळामध्ये महात्मा फुले यांनी ज्या प्रकारचं कार्य केलं तत्सदृश्य समाजकार्यही केलं. अशा प्रकारचा अष्टपैलू व्यक्तिमत्वाचा जो पुरुष होऊन गेला त्याचं जीवन प्रकाशात येणं गरजेचं होतं. ते शाहू या कादंबरीतून आलेलं आहे आणि हा इंग्रजी अनुवाद उपलब्ध झाल्यामुळे जागतिक स्तरावर अशा प्रकारची माणसं स्वातंत्र्यपूर्व काळामध्ये होऊन गेली, प्रतिकूल परिस्थिती होऊन गेली, त्याचं एक विहंगम दर्शन या कादंबरीमध्ये रमाकांत खलप यांनी अनुवादाच्या रूपाने घडवलेलं आहे. एकच शब्द सांगतो की वदने सोपे पण अनुवदने हे फार कठीण असतं. सृजनशील लेखकाचा शब्द लोकांपर्यंत पोहोचवण्यासाठी त्याच्यात आपलं असे भर घालावी लागते आणि हे ही कादंबरी अनुवादित कादंबरी वाचताना मी थांबणार आहे इथं एक दोन वाक्य की हे इट इज नॉट मियर ट्रान्सलेशन बट इट इज ट्रान्सक्रिएशन. हे सर्जन जे झालेलं आहे त्याचं अनुसर्जन आहे. भाई खलपानी अशा प्रकारच्या उत्तमोत्तम साहित्यकृती इंग्रजी अनुवादातर्फे लोकांसमोर आणाव्यात अशी शुभेच्छा व्यक्त करून मी इथं थांबतो. मला ही संधी दिल्याबद्दल मी सर्वांचा आभारी आहे.
Now I turn to the author, the translator of this book. Let me tell you something in brief about the author, Ram Pachindre, whose book is translated by Advocate Khalap. Shri Ram Pachindre was the editor of the prestigious Marathi daily Gomantak, published from Goa, and he is a well-known poet who has written collections like Fulora, Suryapank, and Abharatse Nile, Pankh Nile. And he has also written short stories. This novel, Shahu, appeared in Marathi, and one of the chapters of this novel in Marathi is taken for the textbook. I think it's 5th standard textbook by Maharashtra State Textbook Committee. And Pachindre has also received more than 30 awards for his literary works. He writes ghazal and satirical poetry. Due to some reasons, he can't be with us. We have with us, the translator, who is very renowned politician and a statesman. He was Minister of Law in the government, and it's very, very heartening to see the ministers who have so deeply studied the legacy of Phule and Ambedkar, and that probably is something that is very inspiring. This book is invaluable for all researchers who are looking at the history of modern India. Some of the reforms that Shahu Chatrapati made are kind of key landmark reforms, and I will just talk about it because not many people are aware of it. One is very famously in 1902. He introduced reservation system affirmative action in government, for which he had to face a lot of criticism, not just from the upper caste but from many places. But this 50% reservation that he introduced was a kind of turning point in the history of modern India, because no other king had ever thought of ideas such as this. So this makes him as a kind of person without any precedence. He abolished some evils that were there entrenched in Indian society and the legal structure. And one of the things that he did was the proclaimed criminal tribes system, where certain tribes were branded as criminal tribes, and he had that system removed. He also did away with the system of Hajeri, where these people had to go to the police jockey and give their presence. So this system which British developed to counter these tribes was removed. This is a kind of well ahead of times. Even today these communities are struggling in spite of the legal framework which does not have this. So many of you may be familiar with Utsliya by Lakshman Gaikwad and Upara by Lakshman Mane and others. So these are some of the landmark things which Shahu Chhatrapati did. He also was a great educationist in the sense that he abolished untouchability and he introduced system of education for women. So what Phule was experimenting at individual level and at the level of Satyashodhak Samaj, Shahu Chhatrapati institutionalized it in a legal framework, which probably became the model for Ambedkar later on for when drafting the Constitution of India. So Kolhapur became a kind of model state, which and along with of course Baroda state became the models for Ambedkar to have a vision of what India should be. So that is the importance. So I was looking for some information about Chatrapati Shahu Maharaj. I don't know if Ramchandra Guha, who was with us, in his book Makers of Modern India has written something. I don't know about it. But Shahu is definitely one of the makers of modern India. So with this this background information, I want to turn to Ramakant Khalap ji and ask him what was his intention and objectives behind writing this book? What inspired you to translate this?
Thank you, Ketkar ji. Thank you, Professor Ramakant. And thank you all, first of all, for being present here early morning. Shahu has had a deep influence on my psyche from the days of my student age. And then somehow my political philosophy, the party with which I associate today and I associated in the past, all their philosophies are reflections of what Shahu had done. And whenever we talked about emancipation of the downtrodden, when we talked about ameliorating the conditions of the depressed classes, the personalities which always appeared before my eyes have been Shahu, Phule, Ambedkar, and reformists of those days who really, I should say, to a large extent dismantled the Varna and caste hierarchy that we have. Though it remains in many ways, it has been diluted, the impact has been diluted, and people have been now able to breathe free air. When I studied Constitution as a student of law, in the background of what I knew about Shahu and others, I thought that what Ambedkar did is only putting into some of those fine, beautiful words and those articles of the Constitution, the preachings of this great man. And what really touched me more than anything else was, he was not an educated person in the sense that we talk about education. Though as a prince, he was sent to Rajkot to study and all that. Though the education had been more of an informal. But what he did was out of personal experience. For example, I can tell you, someone comes to him and tells him that a Mahar is one of the lowest caste among the Hindu things, Hindu religion, has died. And he died because his master made him work so hard that day, who did not allow him to look after his grandchild who was suffering from some fever and sickness. And in the process, the man goes back to find that little child dead. He brings that body and then buries the body there. And then, even I feel today, what could have been the emotions through which he must have gone. And the man died on the grave. This news reached the ears of Shahu. And he called for that master, that village party over, flogged him. And from today onwards, he says, Wait Bigari is gone. Demolished that Wait Bigari system, the bonded labor system that was there, demolished it. Now, can you believe the man, how sensitive the man was? And did anybody tell him to do it? No, it came out of his own personal volition, his emotions. And then you have the whole series of actions which he took thereafter. Demolishing almost every religious, Varna and caste, and all these complexes. And then bother about that. How he would face it, how his people would react. So this is the great man, and therefore in my dedication, I have written there, I have said, why did I go for this? I'll just read those 2 lines. In my dedication I have said, Preamble to the Constitution of India outlines the philosophy of modern India. Its promise to build a secular society and to secure justice and equality to the teeming masses reflects Shahu's thoughts and deeds. Hindus are a heterogeneous society. Age-old system of Varna and caste leaves no room for justice and equality in the modern sense. Shahu attempted to dismantle it. So this novel is my attempt to honor the great man, and it is therefore dedicated to his family.
Right. While you were translating his novel, what were the things that you had to keep in mind? What were the issues that bothered you, or what were the difficulties you faced So as a translator, can you just, where do you elaborate or take liberties with? So can you talk about your
Mr.
process?
Pachindri happened to read my Marathi book. And one day I was talking to him and I said, I have translated a book by Pendharkar, a novel by Pendharkar. The title is Rarang Dham. And I said, I am trying to get the permission of the widow of Mr. Pendharkar, the original author, for her permission to publish that. And I said, she is not responding. Now he said, sorry, I know that family and I can manage that. He tried, he didn't succeed. Many other people tried, he didn't succeed. So he read that Rarang Dham. I gave it a lovely copy of it for him to read. And he said, will you look at my Shahu? Till then I didn't know that he had a novel. And he said, that is the only novel in Marathi. If you make it in English, it will be the first novel in English on the life of Shahu. And I just grabbed it. I knew Shahu's life history. But then this was an occasion, to express my gratitude to this great man who I would say is the real architect of the modern constitutional philosophy of India. I grabbed it, I read that, I read more on the life of this, took my notes and went about, I think I told you, I'm a lawyer by profession and we lawyers, we are engaged in research almost every day. Any case that comes up before us has to be researched. And after we research, usually what we do is we dictate. The lawyers dictate and the thing goes on. So that way it was easy for me because the whole concept was in my mind. The philosophical, constitutional philosophy was in my mind. I knew what Shahu had done, what Phule had done, what Satyashoda Mandal had done, Phule had done, what Nehru and Gandhi taught us, all that. And I thought this is an opportunity. God sent opportunity. I will do something great. And it just flowed out after that. So it is not a translation in the sense that you take that book and try to compare with this. Of course, I cannot take the liberties because it is his life, Shahu's life, and it is a well chronicled life. So those facts are facts. So they are all there. How I address those facts is my language. I hope it has turned out well. Well, it is the first attempt in the sense that it is will be available in the stands. In that sense, it is the first attempt. And I cannot forget Mr. Khalid of Broadway. When I met him, he said, oh, great, I'll do it. I'll do it. He didn't, no second thoughts on that. He says, straight away. Not only this, he says that Rarang Dham also he would publish. So, that's a great work. Thank you, Khalid bhai. And of course, bhai, when I talked to him yesterday, he says, anyway, come over, do it. And that's how it has come. Thank you.
As we have seen, Chatrapati Shahu inaugurated some of the most landmark reforms in the history of India. And some of these issues like the issue of religion and state, which Shahu's life was a kind of conflict with, means there is a famous dispute with the Brahmins of Kolhapur and Maharashtra, and the conflict between state and the religion and the emergence of what can be understood as, in theory at least, secular state in India. This conflict, as well as his affirmative action around reservations that he introduced, are the issues which are probably even burning in 2017. These are the issues, the social issues which have not really gone away. They are burning issues because if you look at the politics of Maharashtra and Gujarat or India today, Gujarat and Maharashtra specifically, because caste reservation as well as religion and state are the two themes around which a lot of to and fro aggressive conversations have been happening from past so many years. So what do you see as importance of Chatrapati Shahu Maharaj and his vision for a democratic, secular, egalitarian society where everybody gets equal opportunities, a secular society? So there is a conflict between social democracy and state democracy, which Ambedkar so famously could distinguish and said that unless there is social democracy, the state democracy is not going to be, electoral democracy is not going to work without social democracy. So, and that we see conflict is ongoing. So what do you see as its importance?
I think my book is hitting the stands at a time when once again the politics of this country, the social fabric of this country is under severe stress for various reasons. Fundamental forces, they be Hindus, they be Muslims, even Christianity and others, are somehow up once again in arms, talking about their so-called glorious days, some godforsaken historical past. And they talk about those and try to somehow feel, some sort of nostalgia in the minds of those communities who enjoyed the benefits and privileges of the situation those days. They lament that all that has been today taken over by lower caste, so-called lower caste and underprivileged people. They are getting reservations and they want to dismantle those things. But I have worked in the parliament and I've seen my fellow parliamentarians there. Basically those people who came from the hinterlands of Bihar, villages of Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, even South India. And I can make out that this country needs 100 more Shahus. You need 100 more Shahus. You need a politician who will simply go out and flog these people, who create this mischief of subjugating the depressed classes. So therefore, I think, I hope people appreciate this book. It's not for making money or anything of the sort. My sort of the inner, what should I say? My respect, my humble tribute to this man and to the philosophy that I've tried to bring in this book. It's a very small book, not even 200 pages as such, and I think anybody can read it